And then if you go down on Ferry Boulevard, it's still there, the milestone that says New Haven, 14 miles. So I was the postmaster, and I later went to London as the commercial agent for Pennsylvania, where I had occasion again to run into William Samuel Johnson, who was there as the commercial agent for Connecticut.
I rose as a politician, the lower house of Parliament in the colony, the upper house, the judiciary, and so forth, and I became an agent of the state over in England. And I met the parliamentarians and the head churchmen and so forth. I got an honorary master's degree and doctorate. That's how I became Dr. Johnson from Oxford. So during those 4 years that I was agent, Ben and I occasionally got together at the local tavern in London.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's right. And you fell in love with England, but while I was there, I fell out of love with England after being called to taken to task. In this illustration, the House of Parliament took Franklin, and he had to stand there and mutely listen to all kinds of charges against him. And although I had a love for England, this controversy over things like the Stamp Act got me into difficulty with Parliament, and I finally settled that independence for the United States was the only alternative. I, Benjamin Franklin, the only president of the United States who was never actually president of the United States. But I am the only founding father who is a signator of all three founding documents, the Declaration of Independence. So after the controversy in London, I came back and signed the Declaration of Independence. I later was our ambassador to France during the war. I signed the Treaty of Paris, and finally I signed the Constitution, and William Samuel Johnson is another signator of the Constitution, but it took him a while to come around.
I was a uniter, not a divider. And although I had gone to the Stamp Act Congress and helped to draft the Declaration of the Rights and Grievances, I declined to attend which Congress was it? The Continental Congress?
Yeah.
Yes. And likewise, I resisted getting involved on the side of the Patriots. I was drafted to go and meet with General Gage up in Boston.
The war is on now.
Yeah,
right?
when the war was on, and I did go there to try to conciliate. But after I left my meeting with him, I was arrested. And as a result of that, I was let off the hook. Everybody knew who I was and so forth. I had served with them all in the high offices.
Arrested by the American side, not the British side.
Yeah, I was arrested by the Patriots. So when I was let off, I just came back home, laid low in the tall grass for 4 years, and by then General Tryon had come through and burned and sacked New Haven and Fairfield. And again, I was entreated to go and meet with this British general, which I didn't want to do. I drafted a piece of paper saying that the people of Stratford would indemnify me against anything that might happen to me as a result of my treating with General Tryon. And when word of that got around, I was arrested right away. I never even met with General Tryon. But
arrested by
the Patriots, who said this guy is treasonous. He wants to meet with General Tryon.
Yeah, these English generals.
I was held in Farmington for a while. They considered me a hot potato because I was actually a politically prominent Connecticut person. And then I was passed on to the Sons of Liberty in Lebanon, who had Governor Trumbull was there and so forth. He had me sign an oath of allegiance, and then I went back to Stratford and began practicing law again. The Susquehanna controversy is how my career was revived after that, after the war. This is a sad story about Connecticut having a charter which granted it all the land out to the west coast, 1662 charter, and Connecticut had never said peep about the whole thing for 100 years. But suddenly, somebody must have had a financial interest that was localized in Pennsylvania, because Connecticut and Pennsylvania practically had a war over a piece of Pennsylvania. And
a piece called the Wyoming Valley,
Yeah,
which
the
is
Wyoming
part
Valley.
of the Susquehanna watershed out there where Scranton-Wilkes-Barre is. So Scranton-Wilkes-Barre is properly a Connecticut town. And also, how many of you have heard of Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland? The Western Reserve in Ohio was also part of Connecticut, so Cleveland is a Connecticut city too. So how'd you do in the case? It doesn't seem like we've still got...
I told Governor Trumbull and the folks in charge, the elders, that we shouldn't pursue it. But they insisted. I handled the job. I did my best, and they thought I did a good job, I guess, because I just went on from there to further office and success. I helped to draft the Articles of Confederation. I went on to the Constitutional Convention, where Ben and I...
Well, among various things, we fashioned the Connecticut Compromise, but he's being too modest. He was also the chair of the Committee on Style for the Constitution.
But the compromise was more important, right?
So wherever there's a hint of poetry in the Constitution, that's William Samuel Johnson. And the reason they gave him the job was because he was the leading legal mind in the colony, to make sure the language of the Constitution was legally sound. I wish you had done a better job on the Second Amendment, the part that says about the well-regulated militia being a hanging clause that they seem to have stricken out of all interpretations of that amendment, but you can't do everything. So he was the head of the Committee on Style, and when we fashioned...
I was very eloquent. Here's what Ebenezer Beardsley, the first of the three biographies, says about me. Mr. Johnson, gifted with every external grace of the orator, a voice of the finest and richest tones, a copious and flowing elocution, a mind stored with elegant literature, appeared at the bar with a fascination of language and manner which those who heard him had never even conceived it possible to unite with the technical address of an advocate.
Yes, and he was able to conciliate at the Constitutional Convention. The delegates were at each other's throats. The small states wanted each state to have 2 senators. The big states wanted proportional representation according to population. So we set up a House of Representatives that's proportional and a Senate where every state gets 2.
The great compromise.
The great Connecticut compromise.
What is this? Is this a burial mound here?
Yes. Samuel Johnson is somewhere down there, and probably William Samuel Johnson and a couple of wives too. We don't know exactly.